find it fun.
It's fun. Okay, where do you go for your news?
I honestly just kind of like I have a browser that shows me news updates, where and I kind of just go off that and whatever I kind of see on YouTube. If I notice something like particular, I will do a little bit more deep diving, but I'm not like generally I know the general idea of what's going on.
Yeah, and also like first admin, you're probably really, really young then, the first admin, so it makes sense you want to see certain things. I don't know. Is there one topic you want to talk about with Trump?
The China tariffs specifically,
Okay.
because like I feel like the China and the Mexico tariffs are the tariffs that I'm me personally I'm a conservative in the life, more moderate-ish conservative, but I feel like the China tariffs in Mexico ones in theory make sense because like stuff like the North America Free Trade Agreement and the way we've just been exporting jobs to China, it's like if Trump wants to go with the idea of bringing American jobs back, then that actually makes sense to tariff
So if you
China and Mexico because that's where a massive amount of American manufacturing jobs have gone.
so like the manufacturing jobs that went to China are jobs that Americans left voluntarily. Americans did not want to work the jobs Chinese people work now with like clothing and really cheap products making $2 an hour. So that is largely true. Manufacturing jobs in America died because people did not want to do them, especially for really bad wages. And on the tariffs in general, you're making Americans pay higher prices and pay higher taxes on import goods, which we have a really integrated economy with the rest of the world. Companies are probably going to move to China to other countries to ship to us, if anything, or China can just like sell a country their goods and sell it through those countries to avoid tariffs. And tariffs cripple our economy. It makes our materials cost more, so we can't build factories. We can't really build the ability to move manufacturing. But yeah, it's just really increasing taxes and costs for the American people and American businesses. So it puts a freezing effect
But
on the
okay,
economy. And
I get the idea that tariffs will increase costs, but like there's a trade-off with everything. The trade-off here is that yes, you're gonna see increased costs for consumers, but you're gonna see, assuming Trump plays his cards right, you're gonna see a lot of more manufacturing jobs come back to the U.S. The reason we lost manufacturing jobs, it's not just that people don't want to work manufacturing jobs. No, it's because companies saw, we can just outsource all our labor to Chinese sweatshops and we pay them like comparative to U.S. salaries, $2 an hour. So companies would rather just pay some like Chinese worker like pennies on the dollar compared to actual Americans who get like $15 at minimum
well,
$15
yeah, that can
salaries,
be a
$12
thing.
salaries.
But
They get their Medicare and all that crap.
let's say the entire economy is built in one way. You need probably a 10-year period at minimum to restructure an economy. And if you're a business right now who wants to invest in America, Trump is changing the tariffs literally every single day, like a bipolar teenager who just had their first breakup. And he whines constantly. He's a little baby. But other than that, like, if you're a business in America, you're not going to invest a bunch of money to move things because that's a 5 to 10 year investment. Moving factories takes 3 to 5 years. Moving supply chains takes 5 to 10 years. So Trump doing this tariff that's going to cripple the economy and send us into a recession is also going to make economic growth lower. And that's going to hurt the ability for companies to move money if they don't have any money. So if the economy crashes, that's not good. It's like, these are communist policies Trump is doing. These are communist price controls and huge taxes on the
How are
American
they
people
communists? What? Like,
because it's a
are you just saying they're communists because you think Republican hears the word communist, you think, oh,
well, it could be
communist.
no. It's what authoritarians typically do because it's not a real plan. It's the president alone deciding who gets tariffed what, and he is inviting people who give him
That's
money
his
in a
executive
corrupt way.
authority. He can do
No, but
that.
that's not so. Like in our Constitution, the power to tax is with Congress because our framers of the Constitution wanted to make sure the king or the executive branch could not use taxes as a method for gaining more power because they ran from a king or they left a king who
Yeah, but
separated from a
is
king
the
who used
Constitution referring
tariffs.
to like international trade, like trade tariffs, or internal taxes?
It's all power of taxation is with Congress. But Trump is saying it's a national emergency to tariff every country in the world, but he says everything's a national emergency because he wants executive overreach. And like In general, if Trump's not going to follow laws, if he's going to change the policy every day, it's not going to be a grounds for actual investment. If you want to have investment in America, you would pay companies to build here, or you'd help them build, or you'd give them tax cuts. You would not cripple the economy by doing radical tariffs. And Trump knows he's going to crash the economy, but he wants the power associated with being able to control it.
Okay. Oh, sorry, hold on, my dog. I'm sorry, give me a second.
Woof.
But quiet dog. I'm just gonna hang up. My dog's being annoying. I'm sorry for bothering you.
Okay, no, you're good. Everyone. That microphone is grueling. I don't. You know what? I am just. I don't know. I don't know how to. One conversation that I have real issues with approaching is by the way, thank you for watching. Please drop a like and subscribe. If you want to donate to Jolah Politics on PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo. Jolah Politics, you see it on the screen. Donate right to me. I have issues with conversations where someone is very confident about something they don't know about, because you're doing something where you're debating, especially on economics, because you're debating on a topic which is very technical. So you have to rely on points like he's taxing us, you're changing policies every day like a crazy guy, and look at like the data. But if they're confident about how they think it works, how can I really convince them otherwise? It's just really difficult. Maybe I just need to keep asking questions until they show some inconsistencies. I'm not really sure. It's a tough one. It is a tough one. Like, I know this is true. I know it's going to bring back manufacturing. And if you don't support it, you hate American manufacturing. Like, no. I know how to do it, but if I just explain how to do it right, they're not going to like that because they want an emotional answer. But the right answer is not going to be that emotional. So I don't know, dude. I don't know what to say to that. Nice. Okay, you can call in again, whoever just called. I know the truth. Trump's tariffs are going to save America. This is America. MAGA or Trump are bots. Many of them are bots too. That's the scary part. They think they have friends on the internet, but it is a lot of bots. Trump, Canada.
Call from.
Hello. Nice. Hello.
Oh, am I on?
Yep, you're on. What's up?
Hey, sorry, I didn't catch your name yet.
Jolah. Like Ola, but
Hey,
Jolah.
man, it's Colin. Hey, thanks for having me on your show, dude. I'm gonna go ahead and be upfront with you. I voted for the guy that you didn't like, but I think that what you are doing with this show is very healthy. I think a conversation's good. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a super nerd about politics, but I do try to stay informed as I can. And the one thing that we've been talking, or that you've been talking about on the show tonight, is the tariffs. And maybe you can educate me a little bit. The way I see it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I do think that the tariffs, if they do bring manufacturing back to the U.S., I think a lot of people are kind of getting it wrong. I think that if we bring manufacturing back to the U.S., they're not going to. Everybody's saying, "Oh, we don't want to work these jobs. They're bad jobs. They're just sweatshop jobs." I think that if we brought it back to the U.S., we would automate a large part of it, and that would create jobs for people to get this automation up and running and fix the machines, the tool and die machines, the software that goes along with the automation. I think that there's a large market, or a job market, for that kind of stuff that is not necessarily sweatshop labor. Number two on that is a lot of the reason why the stuff from China is so cheap is that the intellectual property is stolen, the markets are manipulated over there, and they're using exploited labor. And so I kind of don't feel about buying stuff from China in the first place, because we are using exploited labor from China. And I make an effort to try and buy American as much as I can. But, I don't see a lot of people making these points. There is I think there are definitely some hiccups in this tariff stuff that's been going on for sure. Maybe even you could call it a little bit more violent than hiccups. But give me your. Am I way off course here?
So I don't know you, so when I say this, I'm not talking about you. You might not think this way, but the thing about like paying more for American-made products, one reason being because China uses labor that exploits people. I don't know if that's ever a concern for conservatives, because if I say, for example, let's pay a little bit more in taxes to expand healthcare access, usually conservatives want to burn my house down. So I don't know if they're going to say it's worth it to pay more just to help out the people in China, or not even to help them out, just not to be associated with it. It's kind of like an argument a socialist would make or a communist would make, like, oh, well, you're participating in capitalism, therefore you're kind of like you're kind of doing it, you're kind of doing the slave labor in a way. And there's always labor being exploited in America, like child labor and immigrant labor already, and I don't think Americans care that much about it. But I'm not saying that's you, but that's just like a side point on how I view general American conservatism, like the whole thing. Let's use that money at home, and it's like, let's use the money here. They're like, no way, we're not going to give money to people here. We're going to cut taxes for the rich. Beyond tariffs. So if the goal is moving American manufacturing back, we need to look at what works, and the tariffs sound good in concept. But first off, like when you think about tariffs, how do you think they function? What do you think the mechanisms are that would create like price changes? How do you think that would lead to manufacturing? Because I think having an understanding of where you are there, how do you think like Trump's planning these to work, and because Americans and American small businesses, American corporations pay the tariffs. So yeah, how do you view it, like increasing manufacturing? How do you think they work?
Well, if the cost is going to be put on the consumer, essentially like a consumer tax for buying an import, then the consumer would look for a domestic product, right? And I think that would either do one of two things. Either these manufacturers would look to move their manufacturing towards the U.S., or they would make it so that they can compete even with the tariff pricing, right? And I'm not opposed to if we can't bring all the manufacturing back to the U.S., that's not the end of the world, right? I just think that it should be a little bit more competitive, right? I'm probably in the minority, you're right, of conservatives that think this way, right? As far as exploited labor and workers being on like China doesn't have the same OSHA standards that we have, right? They just don't really care about the health and welfare of their laborers as much as we do, and they don't necessarily care as much about the environmental impacts that their manufacturing has. And this isn't necessarily China, but a good example of that is our lumber industry. We import a large part of our lumber from other countries, even though we have a pretty good amount of natural resources that we could draw from here in the U.S.
Well, that's part of the issue with that, like the input costs for businesses. So like if they're going to move factories, that's one big chilling effect on the economy. So if you tariff all these countries at 10% and China at 145%, when like 88% of small businesses import goods and like 90% of corporations import goods, or even higher, probably, I'm guessing 99% of corporations import some type of good, whether it's aluminum or lumber, like you're saying. That's one reason it makes building like factories in America or manufacturing in America difficult, and more difficult because with private investors, I did not mean to cut you off, but this kind of jumped in my brain. With private investors, the goal of the American government when it comes to like manufacturing would be to lead the private markets in a way where the private investors are going to invest in manufacturing that's conducive for whatever your goals are in America. In China, it's not just the labor, and Chinese wages have raised a decent amount actually in the past 20 years. They have to pay more because it is still a more modern society. They do have a lot of, I mean, it's a terrible place to live, obviously, but they have had increased standards of living from global trade. It's a complicated conversation. But China does have low labor costs, and they also can force people to live in like economic clans and economic sectors. They have a mixed like state controlled command economy, that the government completely facilitates. So if the government says we're going to use all of our resources here to make manufacturing better, it's going to get done. There's no companies that have to have their private rights. The Chinese government can say, okay, we're going to have they have 4 times as many people as we do. Okay, we're gonna have these people living here producing this. We're gonna make this supply chain here. We're gonna have this rail going here to here. In America, we can't even build rail. We can't even have high-speed rail. Every other developed country has high-speed rail. We can't even have that. So that's one of the big challenges. If the government is not gonna have initiative, we're just hoping the private companies take these incentives or things we disincentivize, and we have to hope they move the production in the right area. So when I think generally how to move manufacturing back to America, it would not be through like tariffs. It would be through subsidizing companies like Biden did with the CHIPS Act or Infrastructure Plan or Inflation Reduction Act. Or I'd give tax credits to companies that move, manufacturing back, because it would not cause an economic shock, and it would still, it would actually be a direct motivator to influence industry in the exact areas that we say we need for national security or whatever other reason. But that's my general overview on that.
I think I can get behind that, to be honest. I can definitely get behind tax cuts for businesses in the U.S. I'm not so sure about the subsidization. It kind of depends on the subsidization, right? There's some industries that could for sure benefit from some subsidization, but that's kind of a slippery slope in my. And granted, I'm a conservative, so anytime you talk about throwing money around, I start to get a little antsy, right? That's just how we are in our blood. But and I want you to know too, I'm not anti-China, okay? And I might again be in the minority of conservatives here, but I'm not trying to put China out as the devil here. They are not necessarily our ally, but I really feel like if we can come up with a trade agreement that is more fair, then a rising tide's going to raise all ships in this, right? And
that's hard because I don't know what the unfair part would be. Like, I don't know what in the trade deal is unfair. I mean, they have currency manipulation, but that would take a really big approach working with our allies to. I mean, everything with China, the issue is going to be getting allies to work with us. And Obama had the TPP that kind of isolated China. But if we're going to be saying F you Mexico, F you Canada, that's bad for national security, for one. And also like F you Europe, F you Denmark, F you Greenland. Like killing all of our relationships with our allies and pushing them, we're actually pushing them towards China and helping China get more investments from them. So like that's a big concern there, because we need our allies. If you have issues with China like abusing things, then we need our allies. And I feel like Trump just does not care at all about. I mean, he's threatening. I think he said the EU is formed to be anti-America. So that's and the things said about Ukraine are kind of crazy. Even if they don't want to fund it, saying that Ukraine is worse than Russia is freaking insane. So like all that stuff is making us lose faith with our allies, and it's going to take that collaboration. I mean, look at China and South Korea. They hate China, and even they're going towards China because they need to. They have no choice, and that's a tough place to be in as America if we want to have the whole part. Part of American greatness is being able to lead the free world in certain directions, and we're kind of like giving up that position, I guess.
I totally agree with you on maintaining relations with other countries, and that's something that I wish Trump would be a little bit more tactful. But also, on the flip side, to play devil's advocate against that, I feel like we've kind of been abused by even our allies. They take a lot of our money for security, and they don't give a whole lot back. And it seems like we've been getting a little bit of the raw deal for that. But do you mind if I go off topic just a little bit?
Yeah, but just really quick, we made this world. After World War II, America made this world. We made it so that they have to rely on our military, so we get money from them. They pay us for military. We get trade deals with them. So like America, we're the richest country of all time, or we were before China's rising now, but we did not get abused. We abused other countries. I just don't like that line of reasoning, because we are the richest country of all time. The idea we're getting abused when we're the ones who have taken control of these countries. We demilitarize countries. We denuclearize countries. We led this world. We have created this world, and we have benefit from it. That's why America is so good at the economy and military and things like that. And the only thing that keeps America back behind Europe with like quality of life is that we don't tax the rich to give us benefits, because Europeans live like 7 years longer than we do on average, because they have healthcare and happier lives. But yeah, we can talk about that later. I don't mean to divert, because you said you wanted to go off topic for a second, but it kind of makes my brain go haywire, because I'm like, we are literally the richest country of all time. I don't know how we could be the richest country of all time and be screwed over. And if we were getting like, I just don't think Vietnam's going to buy Fords, or Italy. Like, they can't. The Fords don't fit on the roads. So we can't fit a Ford in Japan. They can't drive it. It's too big. But yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to divert there.
Okay, I should have maybe said instead of abusing us, would taking advantage of our hospitality be a little bit better? Just it's a little less, right? But they do have a little bit in some areas of the economy. They have a little bit more leeway than we do.
I think
And
you'd
that
agree
is partially,
with like we just can't be mad at them because we created the world, so we can't be
no,
mad at them like Trump is, and that's when I think you'd agree with that though.
yeah. So I've been in a couple of different countries around the world, and I've seen some Fords around, so it's not out of the question.
Yeah, there's some.
And I don't think that, on that note, it's not going to be like we produce the Fords in America and they go to it. It's too expensive to transport them. But we do have factories all over the world.
Yeah,
that
even
are
Toyota's a
American
Japanese
businesses.
company and they produce in America. They have factories here, so.
Brother, you're telling me I have 2 Toyotas. I would love to buy.
Oh, I love Toyota. I only buy Toyota. I'm not buying any American-made cars. Suck. I'm just Japanese cars last so long. American cars, I mean, you could buy. They have tons of issues, and I like SUVs.
I
so.
wish it wasn't the case too. I wish I could buy an American product here, and I'm like, dude, I'm I don't make a ton of money. I need to be able to have a car that's reliable, so I'm going to go ahead and buy a Toyota.
Oh yeah, they last forever.
But when we're talking about transport a little bit, I kind of deep dove into, like I said, I've traveled a little bit around the world, and I've seen the rail systems that we have in other parts of the world, and I always wondered, why don't we have that here in America? What is that? Is it the truckers lobbying against us or what? And I kind of did a little bit more of a deep dive. It's not quite that simple. We do have a pretty extensive rail system for the size of our country. It seems like it's not that much, but it's pretty good. It's just that our country really is almost 2 spots. You have the East Coast and the West Coast, and to get from products from east to west is really hard to do. Even the high-speed rail it's almost, the juice isn't really worth the squeeze.
Well,
what are your thoughts on that?
So our big period of innovation was during the New Deal era, from like the 40s to the 60s and 70s. When we built our highway systems and our subways, we were top of the line globally. We had the most modern systems, the most impressive, futuristic, whatever. But now China is going through that revolution, industrial period now. So theirs is going to be the state of the art for what today's standards are. And Americans today refuse to invest in each other. They don't want any. We're giving more tax cuts to the wealthy instead of investing in infrastructure, although the wealthy do benefit from infrastructure because they use it more than us. But yeah, the levels of inequality today, the lack of community, the lack of caring about our neighbors. People want cars and they want suburban homes to never see anyone or talk to anyone. Public transport is just not an American thing. We're not a connected people. We don't have connected neighborhoods. We don't have the European culture. That's probably why they live longer, because they're happier. They have better social lives in many countries, and I hate that. I hate that America's like that. But I've rode Amtrak a lot. Amtrak is fantastic. Amtrak is such a good experience. It's 2 seats per row. There's such comfortable seats. It's a seamless experience. Like I love Amtrak. Just like all the autistic kids. My fellow autistic kids love trains.
Where do you live that there's an Amtrak station?
I live like northeast. So I right between like New York and Philly and
so in New England area. Okay.
No, like New York, Philly, Newark, and DC, like between those lines, like yeah.
See, I'm in North Carolina, and there's the closest you can get to that is either going to be. Well, there is a train that comes through here, but it's mostly Greyhound, right? Oh
yeah, 100%. We have tons of shipping lines, yeah, and we need different lines for freight because freight is going to take up a lot of space and they go slow. But look at the speed of the Japan or China or Europe, the bullet trains. It's insane how nice they are compared to what we have, and the traffic we have too. Like the traffic would be such a it would be reduced a lot. But again, like the conservative mind in America is always about free market. And a lot of it is selfishness, and I want lower taxes for me, and I don't want to invest in the public fund. And I know really giving conservatives, like I know guys that'll cry about taxes, but then they'll go to a local football game and donate $500 out of their wallet. But they want to be able to like give money directly to someone to get that satisfaction. They don't like paying more in taxes. And also I would say that Americans would probably be more pro-tax if they saw direct results more often. And saw politicians clearly communicating what's happening, what the projects are, and seeing the benefits of it. So I think that's a thing to explore as well, because we don't see that directly. We pay like our healthcare, we pay to private companies, and we pay to the government. So we pay more than any other country, but our care is not better. So I can understand why people get upset with that system.
Yeah, so man, I just lost my thought. Dang it. No, I totally agree. And on top of that, I wish that if we didn't, the good things don't come on the news, right? Hey, you paid X amount of tax dollars and you got to see this reward. What we generally see is you paid your taxes and look how this politician has embezzled that, or look how they wasted it, and look at this fraud, right? And I think that that's kind of okay. So we can get into Doge a little bit if you want to. I think that
Um,
Doge.
I was
You need
gonna
to go.
say really quick on the politician point. Conservative politicians also purposely do that because they want people to lose confidence in public funds. And some Democrats are corrupt, but conservatives are ultra, ultra, ultra corrupt. And yeah, we could talk about Doge. Speaking of conservative corruption.
Whoa! All right, I'm gonna leave that dog lie for a second, but
All right.
so Doge, I so to give you a little bit of insight on me, right? I work for the government. I'm not gonna say exactly what I do, but I work for the government in essentially the most government job you can get. Okay, and the amount of waste I see on a daily is kind of crazy, right? And I've been saying for years, man, somebody needs to come in here and police this up, all right? And that's where, when I saw Doge come about, I thought, man, this is probably going to be a good thing. There's probably a lot of waste and spending that doesn't need to be spent going on. Now, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. I didn't exactly love the way that Doge went about things, but I don't think that there are many people that will defend that something had to happen, especially anybody who's worked in the government for even a second has seen the waste, just the absolute inefficiency of the government. And I feel like those who defend Doge or are against Doge are almost borderline pro-corruption, because what they're really doing is looking at, hey, who's taking all this money and misappropriating funds? All right, now if you want to say, hey, my fund that I really like got cut by Doge, I get it. There's going to be a little bit of bloodshed in some areas that we don't want, right? But I think for the most part, we needed something like Doge to come along and say, dude, what is going on? This is supposed to be a country that is the tip of the spear in the world. Why does it take 5 hours to get through the DMV? Now, obviously, we're not talking about local level. We're talking about big level, right? But explain to me why I'm wrong.
So Doge went after, I mean, they cut National Park Services. They cut our cancer research in half. We had 28 leaders in our cancer research for our country. There are 0 now. They cut like Meals on Wheels. They cut Head Start. They cut a bunch of programs that are very cheap that help a lot of people. They cut Social Security offices. If you call Social Security now, it takes like 20 hours to get a call back. And also there's whistleblowers that say how Doge installed private servers into our treasury and everything. And it was already hacked by Russians or sent to Russia. We don't know which. They did not identify any waste, fraud, or abuse. And also, private companies have much more waste than the government. Waste is just going to be a thing in really large corporations. But there's a reason I think that Elon Musk could not bring any waste. So he lied about dead people getting Social Security, and he said that kids are getting it, and he said the immigrants are getting it. All of those are lies, other than the kids because they got it when their parents died. But yeah, and also like Musk just talked about like a trans funding in USAID. He used it to kill all of USAID. And he just kind of talked about things that made conservatives mad in the culture war. I would just say like if there's waste, fraud, or abuse, like what? And they started off saying $2 trillion were going to be cut, and now it's 150 billion. And even those numbers seem a little fudged. And if you look at them, they don't seem very accurate. So, when it comes to waste, fraud, or abuse, what main things do you think Doge revealed? I guess.
I wish I could give you specifics, man, but I'm 3 beers deep in my garage, and that's not an excuse. All right.
Well, that's a good time though. I mean,
Yeah, I just feel like maybe the news sources that we are both probably more akin to watching are showing us. And in the early days of the Washington or the Trump administration, they were coming out in press releases and saying, "Hey, here's the evidence of the waste that's going on." Right? What was it that mining, the quarry where they were keeping all of the federal documents, and it was like crazy amounts of do you know what I'm talking about? Trying to jog my memory over here.
Yeah, I guess when I think about waste, fraud, and abuse, I don't think about like outdated record keeping because they cut 70,000 workers from the VA, man. I mean, and just like one thing to think about and like conceptually, um, right when they got in there, they went after foreign aid, which is less than 1% of the budget. They went after, like I said, all the national parks and VA services, and they cut cancer research by 50%, which I think is insane. They went after the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and a bunch of different agencies investigating Elon Musk for fraud, waste, and abuse, and also violating environmental standards and dumping cancerous chemicals in different communities, and using SpaceX to make the sky unsafe, and mishandling user information and spying on people. So Musk was able to go in and shut down those same agencies that were investigating him for pure corruption. Cutting off the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that organization's job, it cost around $500 billion a year, and it returned per year. It's been a thing. I think like I was wrong about the numbers. It's like 500 million, it's 500 million per year. I'm pretty sure, and it returned multiple billions of dollars back to the American people. It's like the anti-scam police for big corporations, and Elon Musk went after that first. So he goes after those agencies that protect the American people from corruption. That was done by Democrats after the 2008 financial crisis to hold banks accountable, and Musk killed that right away. X is trying to become a payment processor, and he killed the agencies investigating that right away. But when it comes to the Pentagon, that's our big budget item, right? That's going to be extended to $1 trillion, the first $1 trillion military budget. So Musk was able to say, okay, the VA, cut it. Cancer research, cut it. National parks, cut it. Okay, but the Pentagon, let's increase it by $200 billion. He did not bring up one thing. He did not bring up one instance of waste, fraud, or abuse from the Pentagon. And I think there's a reason why he just made people mad about like trans frogs or whatever, because I just don't think they actually did what they claimed to do. And that's my main, like, why would they focus on those things and not focus on the real, where I would probably say the real waste is, I guess.
And that, I think that I'm going to hit on something that is kind of been weighing in the back of my mind here. And I'm going to ask you a favor after that. But the thing that's been kind of weighing on me is, I don't know if you've seen it, but conservatives, and that's my party. I love it or hate it. That's my party, right? I think that a lot of the social, what did you call it? The culture war.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of that is fought by the boomers and the older generation who just clutch their pearls when they hear about, two guys kissing, right? And I think that you're going to see, hopefully, maybe, in a couple of years, the younger generation's just not really caring so much about social issues and being like, hey, man, you know what's really tough? I can't get an apartment for a reasonable price, okay? And so I'm going to ask you, all right, you named a lot of the stuff that got cut, and, I feel for you. The cancer research stuff should come back. I totally agree with that. If they put you in charge of DOGE right now, what would you be looking at? Because I don't think either of us are going to deny that there's waste in the government to some extent, right? What would you be looking at as far as waste goes? Which departments of the government?
So every department has investigator general who have like actual waste reports, and they fired all of them. So I guess I would look at like the information they had. The IRS, and they cut a lot of IRS agents. And I know Americans want to say, oh, the IRS, we hate that. But if the IRS does not have proper staffing or resources, they cannot properly enforce the tax code, largely for the rich. So they cannot go after high-profile cases. And the IRS agents like, oh, this is another corruption thing that Musk did, by the way. And this is, and like, and by the way, it's, you could say you want to do what DOGE said to do and just, I think you said that you don't know if they really did it, but, him cutting the IRS agents, these agents were specifically assigned to the area that go after high-profile cases, so closing tax loopholes and going after offshore tax havens. And every $1 that it would cost to hire those agents returned $400 in taxes. So when it comes to waste, fraud, and abuse, I'd probably hire more agents at that point to enforce the tax code. And I know people are like, they're going to come after me. They're probably not going to. Like a couple $100 for someone who's working class, they don't really care about. And also, you should probably just pay taxes at that point too. Or if you don't want to pay taxes, move to a less tax state. I don't know. But regardless, I don't think people have much to worry about if they have more agents. If anything, they'll spend more time going after the wealthy. So I'd say that. And also, like, a lot of what I want is like banning stock trading. Or right now, Trump is scamming his own supporters with the cryptocurrency thing, and foreign investors are buying that cryptocurrency, paying Trump directly, and probably the biggest big money corruption scandal in American history for the presidency. And you get a private dinner with Trump if you rank high enough on the leaderboards for his meme coin. And I hate calling it a meme coin because it's just pure corruption. I'd ban that too. Ban crypto, ban stocks. If you want to trade stocks and crypto, you don't got to serve our government, okay? And that goes for other public service employees as well. If you want to do day trading and there should be really big oversight over that kind of stuff. But then you look at like Senator Rick Scott, who's a Republican. His company did the biggest Medicaid fraud in American history, pretty much, like one of the biggest in Florida. But he became a senator, and now he's talking about cutting Medicaid from people. The big fraud in America is big companies. So I would focus on making the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau stronger. Because they should be stronger because they protect the American people against the big banks. Make the Federal Trade Commission stronger because they can protect people from junk fees and other interest charges that are made on people that they don't deserve. So pretty much everything, a lot of the stuff that must cut, I'd probably make bigger, and I'd cut the tax credits and contracts that we pay Elon Musk in billions of dollars for SpaceX and all that stuff, because I think we can be using those subsidies in better areas. So it is complicated, and my entire political philosophy is more limits on corruption. I want to limit the ability for the government to crack down on people's free speech, crack down on their ability to own guns, crack down on their ability to love who they want to love or be who they want to be in public. I want to make sure the government's small in areas that take away freedom, but I want to make sure the government's huge. I want the government to be huge in places that protects people from corruption. And I mean, Teddy Roosevelt is a Republican that would have probably agreed. Even Nixon in some examples, which he's not a great example for presidents in general. But like FDR, like that's my general philosophy for what the government should be, I guess.
Gotcha. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of those points I can agree with. I think that you're gonna find, as life goes on, that a lot of people, even though the media kind of wants to say that we are polar opposites, I'm sitting here agreeing with a lot of your points, man, a lot of them. And I'm saying, yeah, I see that. And I feel like that's kind of why the left lost this last election, is because a lot of the folks are saying, hey, why are we so polar opposites? Can we not just kind of be a little bit more moderate in things, And I feel like Kamala's whole campaign was really appealing to the hard left, and I don't think that she had the numbers in the hard left to swing the vote, right? And especially when the Conservative Party started appealing to a little bit of the left voter base, like Black Americans and the labor unions. Tell me why you think that Kamala lost the vote.
I largely think it's because Democrats are uninspiring, and also Trump is a liar, largely. I think that both of those things made it so that Trump was able to lie and provide narratives, but Democrats are too weak to have a counter narrative. Can I cut in
real quick?
Yeah, sure.
I want to cut in super quick. So I think you're right. I totally think you're right. I think Trump did the same thing that Obama did when Obama won. Obama was charismatic in ways that we will never understand, dude. Like, it's really hard to hate the man. Even if you didn't love his policies, you're like, dude, that guy is just like, I'd want to hang out with him, right? And Trump did the same thing for the right. He like really appealed to a lot of that voter base and really garnered support.
I agree partly. There's a reason that there's so many crossover voters between Obama, Trump, and also Bernie Sanders and AOC, because they like the genuine talking. But also Obama was, he was debating the intricacies of Obamacare and the ACA and the American healthcare system. If you watch that debate versus Obama, McCain, or Obama and Romney, compared to what Trump says, he literally sounds like a 12-year-old or even younger. Like, he sounds like a toddler who has developmental issues. It's just like,
talking about Obama or Trump?
Trump. He did not even have a healthcare plan. That's the issue with this. Like, Trump did not even have a healthcare plan. Trump did not really have a tariff plan. He just said, I'm going to fix it. They suck. His whole campaign was negative against the other side because he knows if he can make that side seem negative, and Democrats don't fight back, so they're going to believe whatever Trump says. And Kamala's a really weak candidate, then the asshole's probably going to win. But also, like, the way Trump is lying now, he said that he ran on making prices higher and going through a tough period of economic pain to make sure we come out on top. He's telling us we got to get back in the mines, and he said that, so what if your kids can't have enough toys and if you can't afford anything? Money doesn't matter anyway. It's like this billionaire's telling us this. There was a bigger point. The bigger point right now, I believe, when I talk to conservatives, largely, it usually devolves down to they're anti-trans and anti-choice for abortions, or they want to say there's immigrants at every corner in America killing everyone. That's usually what it goes back to, and I largely think that's one big reason that Trump won, and also he would send flyers out that say he's pro-expanding Social Security, although he tried cutting it in his first term. Okay, the overall point. Oh yeah. At my in school boards and Republican states, the biggest bills they're trying to pass right now, Democrats are trying to expand like Medicaid and to pass bills to limit crypto trading and that kind of stuff. But Republicans are largely just trying to do bathroom bills, from what I see, and focusing on pronoun policies. And Trump wants to ban pronouns and ban DEI. I hear them talking about DEI far more than I hear them talking about the American people or infrastructure. Like, look at if you go back and watch Trump's State of the Union address. Just watch that again and pay attention. You know, trans people make up 1% of the country. He spent a majority of that conversation on trans people, just pounding on trans people the entire time. He did not mention the American workers once, maybe once at the end. But the entire speech was on culture war. That's my only thing. And if you have a chance to watch that, you can call it a different day and let me know, you know, your reactions watching it again. But I just don't think that conservatives care about the economic issues. And you know, Kamala talked about expanding Medicare to cover at-home costs and to do price gouging measures to prevent price gouging, and I don't think she's the best messenger for it, but she had much better policies than Trump did on paper. But I think Trump just kind of talks in a confident way so people believe him, especially if they're like busy and inflation was high, so I'm gonna vote for this guy and he's gonna protect us from the immigrants. And so I largely think that's why. Okay, so yeah, it's late too. It is getting late, but I would say largely Trump is unashamed. He's shameless. He'll talk about anything. He'll say anything. He'll lie about anything. He'll just say things. He said he saved 260 million people in America from dying today or yesterday because of the fentanyl seizures, which is insane to even say. But then Democrats are very weak and very bendable and just they fall apart really easily with pressure. So they can't provide a counter narrative if Trump paints them with a broad brush. So I think it's a combination of those things. And my opinion for the future, Democrats need someone who actually gives a shit, someone who's passionate, someone who's aggressive, someone who's going to give a counter vision for America, not just someone who's going to say like, okay, this is a really good point too. Liberal messaging is largely, you don't know that 50% of trans people are 10% of this and 20% of the economic data. You don't know this because you're stupid. And the Republican messaging is, hey guys, you could say slurs now. So it's just like one party feels like the stubborn mom and the other one feels like the fun dad, you know?
That's a hot take, but yeah.
That was probably my best summary. Yeah, that's my best way to summarize it.
It's just interesting to see how when the Obama election came around, I was like, we have no shot. Like McCain versus Obama, there's no shot. I don't even know why I bothered voting that year, because Obama was going to be the clear winner overall, right? And I thought, man, the Democratic Party has never been stronger than right now. And then to see almost a flip-flop is if nothing else, just kind of interesting, right? But can I bend your ear? I know you can cut me off anytime, dude. I'm just having a good time talking with you, to be honest. I really don't love talking about social issues because it's an emotional thing, and like you said, it's really not what is the gears of America and what makes things run. It's important, sure, but it's not. It's like you said, trans people are what, 1% of America, so why are we talking? Why is 90% of the news waves filled with that? But I because this affects my job. I told you I was a government employee, right? And I'm sure you can guess after I mention this. The DEI hires, right? And kind of attacking DEI hires and making a big deal of this. Do you think that that's warranted or no?
No, not at all. And the reason I know that is because people don't know what the hell DEI is. They focus on race, which is like 10% of DEI. I was a DEI hire because I'm from a poor rural area, so I got a grant for like college or scholarship because I'm from a poor rural area. It can include veterans or it can
Is that for your
include equal
job or for
opportunity
school?
employer. That was for school. I was even called DEI at that time from a rich doctor asshole kid, or a doctor's kid, and it's just like. Yeah, DEI, no one knows what it is. They think it's anti-white racism. They really don't know what it is. It probably benefits more white people than it does non-white people or people of color. So I don't think people know what it actually entails because affirmative action and quotas are not DEI. Like, that's not what they mean by that can be an extension of it, but just like having, I mean, they rolled back like 1960s laws about equal opportunity employing or employment. I don't know. I just don't think people know what it is.
So when I think of DEI, I think of it's not necessarily diversity and diversity. Dude, I probably sound like an idiot right now.
Equity.
Equity and inclusion, right? I really focus on the inclusion part, right? Because I'm totally fine with diversity hiring and all that, but it's the inclusion part, right? And this is this. Give me a chance to explain myself here, right? I don't think that every single job out there needs to be inclusatory to every single person out there, right? So, give you an example, a firefighter, right? If you're going to hire a firefighter, would you hire somebody who's in a wheelchair? No, probably not. And it sucks. And if that dude in the wheelchair really wanted to be a firefighter, I feel for you, dude. And that's just kind of like how life worked out, right? But you wouldn't hire that person because of you can't be inclusive to every single person, right? There are jobs that the government fills that you cannot be inclusive to everyone, all right? I was talking to one of my friends who is pretty hardcore liberal, and that should go to show that I try to include everybody in my conversation. Again, why I called into this show, right? Because I try to challenge my thoughts. And he said, I don't understand why they are getting rid of DEI in the military, and they're so hardcore against DEI in the military. And he said, they're trying to get rid of women in combat roles because they changed the fitness testing. They only they didn't account for gender in the fitness testing. Before they had certain benchmarks for women and they had certain benchmarks for men, and if you met it, you got in, but the women's benchmarks were lower. And he said, well, if a woman was to get injured on the battlefield, they could just have another woman pick him up or her up and do XYZ with him, right? And I thought, that's kind of silly. Why wouldn't you just have anybody who's qualified to do that fill that job role? Okay, and we're getting into a niche area, I get it, but I just don't think.
So Pete Hegseth talks about this a lot. So for combat roles, it's already like singular standards. There's only one standard across the board. They're not going to send someone into combat who's not prepared for it. There are different physical standards for like leadership positions in the military. But like what this turned into.
Not true.
Well, no, but like they're not going to send someone into combat who's not prepared for it. Like they're not going to do that. There's already blanket standards for. No, but there's standards for men and women that have differed, but like it's not for combat roles. Combat roles are a different standard from if you're working in an office, for example, like or if you're a medic. It's gonna be different from. It depends like where, how, what, why, whatever.
That's true now, but it wasn't before.
Yeah, but that's so like the big claim made by DEI is it makes like the whole claim for every single job is it throws away merit. It gives people who cannot do a job the ability to do the job. So like when they called the plane crash at the fault of DEI because the air traffic controllers were people with disabilities, and that wasn't true because they would not put someone as air traffic controller that could not physically do it. I'm sure there are some areas where it's like they try to force diversity or inclusion where it doesn't make sense, but for the military, now it turned into just removing women from positions of leadership. There's one specific policy in the military that Trump actually did. Okay, so in 2017, Trump signed into policy the Women, Peace, and Security Program to support women leadership. And now they took away that law, said it's disgusting DEI, meritless. Then they said, oh, crap, the woke DEI people did this women in military law, and now we're going to take it away because it's bad. It's like, well, Trump did this. Trump did it. And now like the current DEI movement is just anti-women, it's anti, LGBT or anti-black, and it's like I talked to a lot of service members, especially like I know a couple like Vietnam vets who are relatively more progressive because of Vietnam, and also the college students that stood up for, war vets and everything at the time. A lot of other issues as well for the reason why different soldiers from different or service members from different time periods are different politically. But the common sentiment is, if you qualify for the standards and if you're able to serve and you want to fight and possibly die for this country, I don't know why you'd kick them out based off them being trans or whatever. But now they want to kick trans people out of the military, and there were no issues with it any other time, and they just go after people for that now. And I just feel like this whole conversation turned into being using it to be racist, honestly, and be sexist. And they fail to identify areas where it's like we're putting someone here unprepared, like the whole black pilot thing that Charlie Kirk says. Like they put black pilot. If Charlie Kirk said, if I see a black pilot, I get scared because they might have got the job because they're black and they don't really know how to fly. And in my opinion, if I see a black pilot, I'm probably like, holy crap, that guy worked his ass off. Because in order to get in this field, he had to work hard as shit to be a black guy, be able to fly a plane. So it's just different ways to look at it. But I think the right way now is using it for racism at large, for like the whole movement, I guess. The majority of MAGA Republicans right now.
Can you give me a good example of how DEI is used for racism?
What I just said. I mean, firing people, saying that you're a DEI hire. They called Kamala a DEI hire when she was elected, and much more qualified than Trump. And I don't even care. I don't even like Kamala, but she's much more qualified than a lot of people that ever ran for president. Even if you don't like her as a politician from a legal background and whatever. But they call what's her name, Jasmine Crockett, a DEI hire as well. They call a lot of people DEI just because they want to say, oh, you're black, basically, or you're one of the DEIs, or they use it as a replacement for the N-word, or I don't have every example, but those are a couple I guess I have off the top of my head. But also, like I said, the sexist part is like firing all the women from the leadership positions, even under programs Trump made, just because they have to say F you to all women now in the military. It's not based on readiness. It's based on just like we need less women here because it's woke to have women, I guess.
Yeah, So I'm going to pick on something you just said. You said that Kamala wasn't your first pick for president?
No.
Do you think that the way that Kamala got into that primary pick, was a bit of a downfall for the Democrats in that election?
Yeah, it was a good propaganda point for Republicans. It's just like Democrats are such losers when it comes to messaging, because Trump literally ran away from debating Kamala again after getting demolished. Even though she sucked, he still got demolished because he's brain dead. And then Trump avoided debates the whole primary. He did not debate once in the primary. He was afraid of DeSantis and Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy. So it's like, I think Biden is the big issue here. Biden staying in as an old, incapable person who's way too tired to do the job. I think he's mentally there, but I think he's way too tired. He should be relaxing on the beach. He could not stand up for 8 hours a day and do things. So for that reason alone, he should not have been running again. He just did not have the fitness for it. But mentally, I think he's more there than Trump when it comes to intelligence, but not activity or not like energy. He's like 83. It's insane. At the point of Biden dropping out, I think Kamala was definitely the right choice. They did not have enough time for a full primary, and it was still done through a democratic process. In the same way we have our elected representatives vote democratically representing us. Democrats we have and Republicans we have delegates, and the delegates we actually vote on, and we elected delegates, and those delegates voted on our behalf. Our representatives voted for Kamala to be the nominee. So it was still a democratic process. When you vote in if you go vote in a primary, if you see Donald Trump versus other names, you're not voting for that person, by the way. For anyone who's listening as well, if you vote for Kamala versus Bernie versus whoever, you're giving a suggestion for who your delegate's going to vote for. Most of the time they vote for him, but they just put those names on there for a suggestion. So yeah, the delegates make the final decision. They usually follow what the votes say, but I mean, there used to be no primaries at all. I think like 50 or 60 years ago, different parties used to just pick the candidate and have no democratic process at all at that level. So I agree. I do think it was at the Democrats' downfall for sure, but I don't think it's nearly as big of an issue as they say it is, compared to what the Republicans provided as a candidate, I guess.
Dude, here's the crazy thing, man. I'm gonna agree with you. Like, I didn't vote for Trump for Trump. All right, I kind of voted for Trump because of the people that surrounded him, and I will let you lay into me as hard as you want for this one. But I was a huge JD Vance fan, right? I still am. I think that, like, man, if he had if he had run as a primary candidate, I would have voted for him all day. So tell me why I'm wrong to have a man crush on JD Vance.
JD Vance has the same politics as Adolf Hitler before Hitler did Nazi Germany, and I can explain if you want.
All right. Tone it down just a little bit. All right.
Well, JD Vance was financed by Peter Thiel, who does like Nazis, and he's done interviews about this. So JD Vance's entire career was funded by Peter Thiel. Look up Peter Thiel. Look up the tech Curtis Yarvin guys. They believe that Peter Thiel himself has said American democracy is over and exhausted, and we need a system that's more like a dictatorship. So if you look at Peter Thiel and realize he funded JD Vance completely, Peter Thiel actually bought JD Vance to be VP, by the way. Peter Thiel's donations and Elon Musk is the reason, or not donations, but more corrupt. But yeah, donations to the campaign. That's the reason JD Vance was picked. Trump did not even know who JD Vance was, and Trump's kids knew JD Vance as well through their connections. Same reason they know Bukele from El Salvador. But look up Peter Thiel, and also JD Vance. If you hear him talk, he's very kind to Russia and very kind to Hungary and El Salvador, but he hates Europe. He hates Europe. He'll talk about Europe violating free speech and then give credit to like Hungary, which are authoritarian, countries, and then they'll detain college students for saying something pro-Palestine in America. And JD Vance blames every problem, whether it's housing, whether it's social media, whether it's anything. He blames everything. He says everything is the cause of multiculturalism and globalism. And if you read Mein Kampf, Hitler made the exact same arguments. Every single conversation JD Vance brings back to globalism and multiculturalism being the downfall of Europe, downfall of America. And it's a little bit hyperbolic, but JD Vance, 100%. I don't know if it's hyperbolic. I'm sorry. I don't know. If JD Vance had the power to do a Holocaust, he definitely would. I don't know if that, I never said that. But yeah, Peter Thiel is definitely a Nazi, and Peter Thiel loves JD Vance. So if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck,
This is a personal question for you, but if you had to be truly honest with yourself, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll even give you, all right? Do you think that you have bias, like personal bias?
Everyone has bias.
Yeah, but everybody has a bias, so rate yours 1 to 10.
It depends if your bias makes you avoid facts. So if you can give me, if a Republican could show me like facts, for example, about Trump or about tariffs, I would change my mind if it can help Americans have a better position. Because I've changed between my favorite healthcare systems. I've changed between my favorite politicians. I've changed between my preferred economic models. I've done a lot of changing in my ideology. But like you ask every AI program everywhere, they all agree that Republicans do not follow facts. So, I mean, if you make factual arguments, I could definitely change my opinion. And that's all I think matters. And I think you sound like someone who would be also open to changing your mind if you saw really good evidence for why you should change it. But yeah, I think that's the metric that matters. We're all really opinionated, I guess, and like biased. It depends what your definition is of biased, I guess.
No, I totally agree, and I wanted to make sure that you had some kind of grasp of that. It sounds like you do, and I'm the first to admit that socially I'm very left leaning.
Okay.
And I guess that makes me a bit of a libertarian because I really don't care what you do socially. It's what you do economically and legally that really I care about. Like if my taxes go up, I'm going to question why that is. I'm not necessarily going to say I don't want to be taxed, but I'm going to say, hey, why did you raise my tax, right? So I also have a small business, right? And the amount of taxes I pay is crazy, dude. I have to put away about 30% of everything I make to pay my taxes at the end of the year, and it boggles me. It's really hard to get ahead in this economic system that we have as a small business, and I wish that we could lower taxes for us,
Well, that's the issue here. So like when Trump is saying he's going to cut taxes for corporations, and Democrats said they were going to cut it for only small businesses, but if you cut it for both, and you give most of the tax cuts to corporations, and they increase the deficit because we spend most money on them. When we give them huge tax cuts and we go into debt spending, we pay for them in our higher interest rates and our deficit. Then we also help subsidize their inflation they're causing by us spending more money and printing money to do their tax cuts. So small businesses, like we should be cutting small business taxes and raising corporate taxes to make things more even and to provide infrastructure and everything for small businesses to be more successful. But the Republican bills, like, I'm gonna go on to one more caller after this. But if you look at Republican presidents versus Democratic presidents, it's actually a 50-to-1 ratio for Democrats when it comes to jobs created versus jobs lost. For every one job Republicans have added to the economy, Democrats have added 50. And that's an actual fact. You could look it up, like a 100% fact. It might be getting worse under Trump with the tariffs if the economy crashes. But there's reasons for that, and it's because the economy is more stable under Democrats typically. And I mean, we could have a different conversation a different day, but yeah, that's my general view on that. I appreciate the call. I want to give you a chance to end
Dude,
on whatever you want to end
thank you
on.
for taking me, man. I'd love to call back if any time. And I understand it sounds like you got a lot of kids that call into this show. I'm turning 30 this year, so if you see my number, pick me
I'm
up,
25.
man.
That's not normal. I don't want to talk to kids, but they call in and they already watch Charlie Kirk, so I have to talk to them because I have no other options, or they're going to
There's just
become little
this different
neo-Nazis.
emotional response for these guys. Some of them are like, they just want to get loud and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I really feel like there's a really underrepresented part of America who says, hey, man, I just want to talk. I want to prove me wrong. Like I'm open to discussion. And when I saw you talking on your live stream, I thought, man, this guy, I might not agree with every policy that he's in favor for, but I get it, man. Like he just wants to talk to people, and you're not raising your voice, you're not doing anything that, I appreciate that. I really do. It's kind of that this is how we're going to get ahead. We might not agree on every single bit, but yelling and screaming and calling names is not going to progress us any further. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess my only thing to keep in mind is that if someone's making arguments that are insane, like we should be shipping off people to El Salvador with no due process, then I think if a liberal raises their mouth or their voice, even for something justified, they're called betas because they show emotion. I think that needs to stop as well, because it's okay to be passionate about things and to care about things at a deep level. But yeah, I definitely agree. Having the conversation matters a lot, and definitely need to cut out more bad faith actors, and the media consumption matters. What you see on media, what they show to you through algorithms is going to be it's really going to determine a lot about how you view the world and how all of us view the world. But yeah, thank you for the call. Hope you have a great night, man.
Yep, you too, Ben. Take it easy.
All right, see you too. Corey, thank you so much for $10. Can you be a mod? Yeah, I don't know. I don't add mods that often. Why do you want to be a mod? Why do you want to be a mod? Why? Why do you want to be a mod? Let's see. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much for donations on I got them on Cash App and Venmo. I did not get to look at them yet. Okay, thank you so much to thank you so much to Rob saying keep going for $5 on Cash App. Thank you so much for $5 on Cash App. Thank you so much. And again, thank you, Corey, for $10 on Super Chat. We have to interview you. But I also can't just give mods to anyone who donates as well. So that's a little bit of a challenge there. Also Venmo, thank you so much, Sri, I believe. Sri is one of the vertebrae of the backbone of this channel. Thank you, Sri. DOGE is a scam. No hearing equal no due process. I should 100% be a mod. Who said that? I don't. What time is it? 11:24. I'm going to. I'm gonna see Bernie tomorrow. I'm actually gonna volunteer for the Stop Oligarchy tour. You want to ban Kyle for 5 minutes? Ramen noodles. Ramen. What about peanut butter? Ice. How do you spell ice? Gestap. Oh, wow, that's true. Good job. He wants to power. He wants to ban Kyle for 5 minutes. You could just I could just ban Kyle for you for 5 minutes. That's always an option. It's an easy fix, to be honest. But yeah, I appreciate all the all the support. So I need to get sleep tonight, but I'm at 24,000 subs and 969. I need 31 more subs to get to 25,000. So I'm like, should I keep going tonight to get to 25,000? Please subscribe to the channel. Get me to 25,000 subs, dude. You said one more call. Look at you being all being on it, making sure I do another call. Look at you. That's crazy. Join Discord, by the way. My Discord link is in all my video descriptions. I have some videos up right now of past calls. If you want to watch them, please do that. Don't actually bang Kyle. One more call. One more call. Here's Discord as well in the chat. Okay. I need 28 more subscribers. Dude, I guess I'll keep going. I don't have any calls right now. Maybe I'll restart. Maybe I'll do halftime and go until like 1. Why do foreigners support Trump? Well, no, they don't. Many people in America who may be people of color support Trump because of cultural reasons, and also because if they made it to America, they probably think, screw the other people that are coming. It's like you climb up the ladder and cut it off once you get to the platform. Oh, there's a lot of complicated reasons though. I don't have enough information there to comment on it, to be honest. So I'm gonna stop. Okay, I'm gonna do one more YouTube Shorts stream, guys. Let's see. Why were you disappointed by Bernie? I think Bernie did as much as he possibly could to effectuate change. Or what did he do? You know what's crazy? Kamala Harris was dancing with someone who called for Bernie Sanders to die. I just don't know how they do that. Absolutely, I subscribed. Sorry to burst your bubble, MAGA. Great Depression is already here thanks to Trump's tariffs. You're back. Okay, wait. I'm gonna start a new stream. I'm gonna end this one and start a new one. I'm gonna end this stream and start a new stream, guys. So, look for it to be live in like 1 minute. All right, guys. Because I want to be able to get this going again. Get some callers, and the algorithm dried up a little bit. So, refresh my channel. I'm gonna end it right now. Refresh my channel. Sub to my alt. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I need 23 more subscribers for 25,000. All right, I'm gonna start a new stream to do this. Sorry, guys. All right, refresh my channel. See you guys in a second.